Cool. All right. So we are at 4 after. So let's get going because I have so much to share. And just so you know, I have so much to share. I have a way of doing that. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to be going back and forth between the screen and then showing you what I'm working on. But I want to do a couple things first, and that is with the shared. Oops. Let me not go in without sharing first. So this is our thermal cooking class. Welcome. And when it comes to thermal cooking, when I started thinking about thermal cooking, this is what my head was doing. Like there's so many pieces to it and you're not quite sure what it all means and where it all goes. So this is what by the end, I hope it feels more organized for you. That was just sort of my little thing. So this is basically what you do in thermal cooking. It's you're going to boil your food, you're going to insulate it, and then you're going to wait. So that's it. Class is over, right? You're ready? Just kidding. So what to expect in the class today. So what we're going to do is I have a ton of information about thermal cooking and how it works. All right. We're going to do cooking demonstrations and then we'll open up the stuff at the end. So I'm actually going to do those right here at the beginning, even though I'm not going to go over the details of thermal cooking till later. If I don't get them in the thermal cooker, you won't see what they're like on the other side. Okay. We're also going to talk about heating sources, and I'll tell you why we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. You know, the just in case, the things to think about. And that's like the next slide or so. If you, just like I just said, if you would like a link to this class, make sure and subscribe at thermalcooking.net. And I'm going to send everybody the link of where to get it and where you'll find it on YouTube. Okay. I'm going to talk about available resources. And I have a really awesome special, actually a couple of them. I'll talk about the Saratoga Jack. That's a little bit of a buzz right now as far as their pricing goes. And then I have just something else I'm going to share with you.
We're going to do something really simple first. So I thought, let's start super simple. And Alicia, will you put water in this for me? She's good. She's going to be my helper. So like about that much. She's going to try and hide the whole night. I know it. So a lot of times I use thermal cooking a lot to prep stuff. So what I want to do is I want to prep my potatoes, and I could use salad, which Alicia wants me to use these for. Most of the time when I do this, will you put it on the stove and start it, please? Most of the time when I do this, what I'm going to make with it are mashed potatoes. Usually, how do you make mashed potatoes? You put your potatoes into boil, and then they boil for, until they're soft enough. You just have to keep going back and checking them, right? You could do them whole. I'm going to cut them because if I do cut them, then I don't have to do anything later when I'm mashing them or using them in potato salad. Okay. And yes, I like the skins on mine. These are Yukon potatoes that I'm using. And I'm just going to do enough to fill up my pot because in thermal cooking you want 75 to 80% full to maximize efficiency. I'm going to go over that with our slides. But I just want to show you how fast it can be to do it. Okay, and it looks like we're going to use all of these. When you watch the video later, or if you do, Julie's recording so that we can edit in what it looks like in the pot. It's sort of hard to do that on a Zoom. So what I'd like to know, and put this in the chat, what do you guys like to make with potatoes? Okay, I might not look at them right this second unless Kelly wants to come on and share with us what are some of your favorite things to do with potatoes. Be utilized in a thermal cooker.
Okay, I'm going to put more in. I'm going to do our last one. This one's not a Yukon Gold, but that's okay.
Cindy, we have some different ideas. We've got Indian spiced potato curry, shepherd's pie, scalloped mashed potato soup, beef stew, lots of different ideas.
So I think I've made almost all of those unless they were ethnic type, right? I don't know that I've done the first one you said, but definitely shepherd's pie is something that I do as one of my favorites in a thermal cooker. And that's with container cooking. And we're going to talk about container cooking. Okay, so this,
I don't know if you can see that. My potatoes went right up to all the way up. So they are about this far from the top. So it's plenty of space in there. My potatoes, if I put the lid on, it's gonna boil faster, right?
okay, the next thing we're gonna make is a little bit, I'm going to do something with container cooking. So we're gonna start with the bowl and spoon.
Okay. I wanna make sure that as soon as the potatoes start boiling, I'm gonna take them out and put them in, we're actually gonna put it in a hope sack, but these don't need to boil at all. It's as soon as they come to a boil, that's when we're gonna put them in. You could do it in a thermal cooker, you could do it just in some kind of a thermal cooker. All right. Okay, Leisha, will you keep bringing this stuff over for me, please? We're gonna make cupcakes, is what we're gonna make. Okay.
And I have 6 of the 1 cup mason jars. And I have 6 of the 1/2 cup mason jars. And I'm just gonna put this in them. Okay, and I'm gonna mix up or even, it's hard to believe that they're actually a cake mix. It's just a plain old cake mix. They're just really good.
If I was really, I could have had this made before for y'all. You didn't have to watch me stir it. All right. Okay. So what kind of, another question I have, as far as when you think of thermal cooking, you know, it's a lot of times it's boiling things. So why I'd like to demonstrate something that doesn't boil is because I really like the idea of realizing that you can make almost anything that you want to make can be done in a thermal cooker. So now I'm going to make a total mess, so don't judge me, okay? I'm just going to put about a half full in here on all of them. Maybe not quite on the tall ones. I have one more than I'm used to using. But I'm going to use this whole entire cake mix.
All right.
Cindy, will you be sending the recording to everyone that's on here?
I will, for sure. And there's a lot of people that have asked for it also that couldn't be on. That's what I was saying when we were talking about Guatemala, is that I've had some people ask from France, Australia, and somewhere in the Orient that they'll be watching it later because they were all sleeping. So that will be awesome. We'll have that.
And then another question that you might be answering later is just in the case of like what they had in Texas where they had no electricity, they're just asking what do they do to boil the water, because that's a factor of the thermal
We're
cooking.
going to totally cover that. That's my next slide. I just wanted to show the food first to get it in the cookers.
Okay. What am I doing? Oh, I'm putting lids on. Sorry, I'm so glad I have helpers. So I'm just putting lids. You don't have to use new lids. You can use old lids. And usually make this mess. Fuel is a really important thing, and we are going to need fuel sources. And talk about some things that are going to help. Oh, are we boiling? I'm getting asked to check and see if we're boiling. It's getting closer, not yet. Okay. These ones, I'm just going to do in a Saratoga Jack thermal cooker. And I always put, like I said, don't put the water in first. I put the jars in first. I put the
5 around. See the 5 around, and I'm going to put the middle one in the middle. This one. Okay, can you see that?
You can see that there. And then I'm going to put the other ones around on top of those.
Okay, so I have 12 cupcakes.
And we're gonna add water. Okay, good. You're welcome. Okay, we're gonna.
Okay, the water is not necessarily over the top of them, okay? They're still gonna cook just fine. This top one pokes up a little bit high, but it'll still close inside of the cooker. So I don't worry about that. All right, so let's go back to the PowerPoint because now I'm gonna show you stuff and share a lot of information. This was really important to get done, so I have something to open at the end, okay? So this was in February of this year. And what do you do when you're not used to having things that cold? I mean, look at the amount of snow that came in some of those places. It's crazy. And I just remember sitting there reading things about what people were going through and not having any, you know, they're eating cold food. I'm like, cold, you know, you don't want to have to eat cold food. You know, I'm like a thermal cooker. I mean, just something enough to get it to a boil. So we'll do so much. And it is going to take enough time. You know, you have to have fuel sources to be able to get it to a boil, but the thermal cooker would make it so that food would last all day, right? And you could put it on once and you could have food throughout the whole entire day that was warm. All right, so then I read this and it said that it's just a real mess. It's a quote from USA Today from the 17th of February, and it's not just Texas, right? 100 million people from the south to the east coast, and they have this storm, right? And I've got this right here. I can't really see right here. Let me look. All right, from the south to the east coast in path of the new winter storm, 2.1 million power outages across 8 states. I mean, anyway, so it just amazed me that was that big of a storm. So I thought I need to do something to see what I can do to help and to come up with some information and maybe share it. But that's just not it, that storm either. You look at what happened last year. Global losses from natural disasters were 210 billion. We had all the wildfires, right? And the floods, tons of floods too, and over 30 hurricane storms. That was more than ever before. So, I mean, it's really out there and there. And so we need to do something about it. And this is the key to it, is to prepare ahead and to practice. Because I can show you all day long how to do potatoes and cupcakes on a thermal cooker. But if you don't try it yourself, it's going to take you, those two might be really easy, but you might get tired of potatoes or whatever, right? So practice, there's so many things you can do with a thermal cooker. My advice is to practice. And I'm going to have some information by the end of the presentation that has exactly sort of what you would want to have available to you to be able to have it in your house in case of emergency. And that's just it. You're doing this, you're going to have it there and be prepared. It's up to you to think about how long you want to have it there for, right? I can say, I'm going to tell you, like, for instance, butane. I'll let you know how many days you need the butane, you know, the butane canister is going to last. But it's up to you that you decide how long you want that butane for, or if you want to even choose butane. I have several options that we're going to talk about. All right. But my focus, right, is focusing on the food and the food preparation. So in the chat, we're not going to really talk about it a ton right this second, but will you just put down things that relating to food and cooking during these last couple months, or when you of times of stress and trial or emergency? What do you hear people say? Just like I mentioned, they were eating cold food, and that really touched me that they were. And I just wish I could have gotten to them and say, hey, you know, at that point, they probably didn't have anything to heat it up with. Is the problem. And I get that. Okay, so just go ahead and type your thoughts in the chat as I go through the presentation. We really are going to focus on fuel sources and retain heat. Those are the two things. There's other things that you can utilize, but those are the two that we're going to talk about. Okay. Let's see. I'm just going to look at a couple of them because I just saw them coming in. They don't know how to cook food without electricity. It's true. People don't know how to cook food without electricity. And I also thought about they were cold, right? It was really, really cold. They needed to stay warm. And yes, I agree. A gas range helps a ton. Okay. So I'm not going to go through those. We'll go through it. Kelly, if you see some later, if there's some in there we want to do, if it makes sense where I'm at, then you can go ahead and say, you know, chime in. Come on. There we go. So what is retained heat cooking? Basically, retained heat cooking is we're going to trap heat. It utilizes trapped heat to cook food. All right, so we're going to have to heat it up. You have to heat up your food to boiling, and then we're going to trap it, the heat, not the food. And well, you can heat food, right? So there are 3 types of retained heat cooking. There's like earth ovens. Okay, that's retained heat because you're going to put the fire in there. It's going to heat up all around the outside, and then you're going to cook. That's awesome for like bread and things you want crispy, pizza, right? A pizza oven. And that works really well, but you're not going to cook a pizza in a thermal cooker. That's just not going to happen, right? Yeah, so this is an awesome way to go do it without that. Pit cooking. There's a lot of that. You know, you dig in a hole. You're putting like an emu, like cooking a pig in an emu, like at a luau. You're putting the heat and everything. You're heating it, and then you're putting the cold food in, and then you're burying it. Okay. We're not going to talk about that one today. We're going to talk about thermal cookers. And that's a device that does a little bit different. It actually heats up the food. The other two, you're putting cold food around into the heat. This one, you're heating up the food, which the food is actually what's going to have your heating, is going to be retained by insulating it. Okay. Here's some different ways. I'm going to go over a lot of different ideas for doing your own, because that's what I kept thinking when I was watching. I'm like, if they have a little bit of fuel and they have a cooler and some blankets and a pot, that's all you need. You got food, that's all you need. So anyway, so we're going to cover all of those kind of things. And so which cooker is best? People always ask me, which cooker is best? And it just all depends on you. What's your situation? I mean, if you're in a situation like in Texas and you don't have hardly any fuel to heat up food and you don't have a thermal cooker, then, you know, a cooler or a box or something, and I'm going to show you some of those, is going to be awesome. If you have time ahead and you just want to play with it and do a lot of just learning this new method of cooking, then maybe you want to invest in a thermal cooker, a stainless steel one, or maybe you want to, the Hope Sacks, that's what I made those for charity. And a lot of people like those because they're super efficient. So that might be an option, or one of the other types of fabric thermal cookers. So do it yourself. Here's a pot, a cooler, and blankets. That's all you need, right? This doesn't cost you a bit, especially if you know, because most people have all those things in their house. Air is the enemy in thermal cooking. I really want to stress this point. Air is the enemy. That means air inside of the food inside your pot with the food. I need to check something real quick. Okay, we're boiling. Okay. We are on pause for that. So let me unshare because we were boiling. Okay. And I'm going to do this. This is my thermal cooker that I made as a demo for the way I made it to go to Kenya. And you can see it's got a hole on the inside.
And we probably cooked those longer than we needed to. We're just going to utilize hot pads and slide it down in there. Okay. Can you see that? It's just in there. This is fabric inside of here. It's like scraps of fabric.
Is what's in this one, and it's batting around the outside, like just like to stuff a pillow with or something. That's what I have them using Kenya because we haven't been able to source shredded foam yet. Okay. So there's that one. Kelly, will you set an alarm for 25 minutes? Because this only needs 25 minutes and it's done. It probably doesn't even need that long, but we will.
Okay.
But you think about Sundays, I'm going to switch to this for a minute. Think about Sundays, you come home from church and you just want to have some mashed potatoes or something. So you hurry quick and do that, bring it right to a boil. And I did boil them too long because I could hear it. I'm like, oh no, it just has to get to a boil. It doesn't need to be boiling. That was a heavy, heavy boil when I looked at it. So I don't know how many minutes it was boiling. And then 25 minutes in there. My guess, the way thermal cooking works, because I boiled it a little bit longer, it's not even going to take the full 25 minutes. Okay, because it's give and take. You boil it a little bit longer and it doesn't have to stay in as long, right? To retain the heat. Or it, anyway, there's lots of little variables. We're going to go over some Sorry, Julie's whispering to Leisha. Is that one boiling? I want this one to boil for 5 minutes. It's not quite boiling. So we're going to boil that one for about 5 minutes once it starts boiling. It's not quite ready. The things are wobbling in there because it's starting to do things at the bottom. Starting to get those bubbles coming up. Okay, so on the outside of the pot of the cooker, let me show you this picture right here. Okay, so I have blankets, I have a pot, and I have a cooler. You want to make sure that your cooler, you don't have any air on the outside around your pot. So you're going to put a blanket underneath, right? And you're going to put your hot pot in there of hot food, and you're going to stuff that blanket all over and not leave any space inside that cooler so that there's air that could go. Because if the heat's going somewhere, or the heat can go. If the heat's going somewhere, it's leaving your food. You don't want it to leave your food, okay? And I'm going to show you that in just a sec. So other do-it-yourself options, and you can be creative. You can make your own, or you can buy a thermal cooker. And we're going to go over all of those, and I'm going to show you some things. Here's some examples of some that I pulled together. In fact, I was thinking about preparedness, and I thought, if we have a preparedness problem, I wonder how many things I can pull around my house, pull together and make thermal cookers out of them. And I came up with 22. Of course, I have a lot of thermal cookers, but it wasn't a whole 22. You can see that I have several in here. So make sure that, just think about in your house, what will work. I'm going to show you some of them right here because I have a lot of them here. The Hope Sack project, because we're going to talk about the Hope Sack. When I first went to Mexico, this is a group, we did a sew-a-thon in Mexico, and these ladies all made their own Hope Sacks. We did like an assembly line, so everybody got a Hope Sack. And when I was teaching the class the first year I went there, because I was going down there, so I went, I want to design one because I can't buy everybody a thermal cooker, but maybe we could make one. So we, the first year we had sew-a-thons here, and we made some and took them down, and the next year, we had the sew-a-thon down there, and then they made their own. So, but that first year when I was teaching the class and they realized how much fuel savings there was because of the thermal cooker, the whole room erupted. And at that moment, I knew this was going to be something awesome that I could share this information. A year or so later, I was able to go to Kenya because they saw that my friend Heidi saw the thermal cookers, and she invited me to go down to Kenya and share them. And this picture of Kenya is these are all Hope Sack certified people in Kenya. They're in Enkrata, Kenya, and they know how to use a thermal cooker. I can tell you that right now. I think they know how to use it better than I do. So this is the Hope Sack. This is what it looks like. And because I've been teaching thermal cooking, I knew what I wanted to do with it, and this is what I came up with. So it's basically, there's two pillows, a pillow on the bottom and a pillow on the top with the tube in the middle, okay? And then it fits in a bag that cinches up so you can carry it around. It's portable. And then what you do is, I didn't have to use a bag. I could have used a bag in this one to protect it. A lot of times these are oven bags, and I'll put the pot right down in the oven bag if I have something that'll make a mess of it and then keep it clean. I do that all the time. And then you just slide it down in just like I just showed you, and then it's a thermal cooker. This is the thing about a Hope Sack, because I've been testing the different types of thermal cookers. And as I go through, I can show you, I can talk about which ones I thought were more efficient than others. The Hope Sack lost about 2.5 degrees an hour, which, so after 10 hours, when I made some baked beans, and it was cool, and I did some beans in it. Actually, they were Mexican pinto beans. It only lost 25 degrees after 10 hours. So that was crazy, crazy, crazy retention of heat. And that's the shredded foam. Okay, and I go over all this, and I have a course. In fact, I think I'm showing you that right now. Okay, I have a video course for my whole entire how to make this. I was selling just the regular course on how to do it, and you can get a digital download, and that's included in this course. But I just didn't feel like it had all the information that was in my head. So I went through and made a whole course on it. And so this is what it looks like when you go in. There's a step-by-step, and then it says, what's a Hope Sack? So I have some information on that. I've just got snapshots of these. I thought it would be easier. And then each individual lesson has a video, and you can see the bag intro, and then sewing the bag, adding the top piece, pinning the straps, sewing on the straps. So I have a video for each section of how to make it. And then like stuffing the Hope Sack. And then I'm just going to show you how it scrolls down and does. So I have choosing insulation and filler, and then just information of options that you can use and pictures of what to do. Okay. We can, we need 5 minutes on that one now, because that's boiling, so, okay, Julie's got it. So the first thing I want to show you is what I talked about already, right? Coolers are awesome. Use a cooler whenever you have one. Like I said, when you open it up, you're gonna put the pot in. Make sure this area up here is also stuffed high, so that when you shut it, it's just packed with blankets all around your thing. Also, another thought in this is, I like to put a blanket in the bottom or whatever in the bottom, and then put my towel, okay? And then I put my pot on the towel and then wrap that towel around it, and then more blankets, because I'd much rather get that towel dirty and wash that than empty the whole, get my big blankets dirty, right? And so I do it that way all the time. It only takes like once of spilling your soup on your towels, I mean, blankets, and that sort of fixes the problem. So, all right. I'm gonna have some creative things too, okay? Okay, this is gonna do the same thing, right? Have you guys, like this just came from, I don't know. Do you guys ever get these from places to go? It's a styrofoam box. But it totally is insulated, and you can do the same thing. You're not gonna melt the styrofoam because you've got blankets around your pot, okay? This would probably be a little bit smaller pot than the other one. The other one could be really big. This would probably hold like a 4 or 5 liter pot with the blankets all around it. And last week I was really excited because we ordered something. Leisha ordered some food, and the box that came, I was like, I'm going to show that in my class. We got some clean eats. Leisha ordered some clean eats. So these are meals, right? They came totally frozen with like dry ice in here. But look at that. It's totally insulated, right? So it's got, it's like an inch thick of some kind of insulation. I would definitely pack it. It's not going to be a huge pot in there. And you don't want the hot thing. You're just going to melt that plastic. So you want it pretty protected with a towel or something going down inside your blankets inside of this. But in an emergency, this is totally doable, and it's going to retain heat. Is it going to retain heat at 2.5 degree loss an hour? No, probably not. But you know what? It's going to retain the heat for hours. You just test it a couple times and see what it does. This one isn't like the other one, isn't super efficient, but if you have a big basket, this will work too. I got this idea from seeing ones that people had in Kenya, or not in Africa, it wasn't Kenya. But they would have them and they just put blankets, but they made cute little linings and stuff. And when I saw this basket, I'm like, it's hard to find a basket big enough that would fit a pot, because you want plenty of insulation. You want 2 to 3 inches of insulation around your pot to help retain it, okay? The Saratoga Jack has an inch, but they have the stainless steel. So that's gonna help retain it a little bit more. Where if you have fabric, there is a way, you know, the heat will go out of it. This one's another homemade one. It's called a Wonder Oven or a Wonder Box. So this has got 2 pieces, okay? It goes on the table like this. Your pot fits down inside of here, and you put this on the top. I have pots. So we're going to put a pot in there, and you're going to put this on top. Okay, and then it's going to be there, and it's going to retain that heat. This one, the first time I used it, I took it to where did I take it to? I took it to a class, and I just dropped it into like a laundry basket, and I took it with me, and it was my testing one. So I tested the temperature before, and I tested the temperature after. Well, the thing about it is that when I got there and took it, you know, I wasn't impressed with it. I thought it lost way too much heat. And so I didn't really worry about it. I'm like, oh, that's not the greatest one ever. Whatever, you know, I won't use it. I don't think I use it again until I tested this one. This is a Wonder Bag, and the Hope Sack together. And this time it worked great, because if you look at it, it's a good 2 to 3 inches of beads inside of there, right? But this time I set it on a table and left it. So the first time I moved it and it opened, right? And the second time I didn't, and it is really efficient. So just think about the principles, and I'm going to go through the principles. But I wanted to show you this one. If I was going to use this one, oh, guess what? My time's up. So we've got to take just one quick break.
I probably can't use the lid on this because I don't think it'll fit with the lid. The reason I took the lid off was because that one was so high, and I'd rather have the food in there than the lid on, because the lid's not going to make one bit of difference. Okay.
The picture I didn't get because the lid was open.
Yeah. Oh, she's taking a picture, so you're going to learn that you don't do that, but it's okay.
This is this class, so it's okay. It's okay. We wanted a picture. Yeah, it's all right. In that amount of time, you know, it's all good. At first, when I started doing thermal cooking, I was so strict to peaking, especially at the beginning. But when it's this hot at the beginning is the time I think it's actually okay to have to get in there really quick, do something with it. It's later that I don't want to do it. So, yeah, my apron's coming off. I'm done cooking. I'm just gonna take this off. All right, this one's another little bag that somebody bought that for small things. And it's got the beads inside of it, and you just put small pots in, and this, it's not gonna hold the heat maybe quite as long as something that would be bigger, and we'll talk about why pretty soon as we get to the specifics of how thermal cooking works. But the smaller the pot, the less amount of time it's gonna stay hot.
Here's a wonder bag, and I know that we've seen that some people have wonder bags. Beads and certain, somebody asked me about styrofoam, because those have styrofoam beads. This is a wonder bag, and it uses shredded foam, okay? And so I prefer shredded foam over styrofoam beads because I think it retains heat awesome, and it works really well in the thermal cooker. And doing that middle one, the ring around, you know, the tube, I think it would be a nightmare to try and get beads inside of there and get that sewn up. So I haven't even tried the beads with a hope sack, honestly. But I don't know where to get beads, but I know somebody that does. So if you send me a message, I can, I have a friend that has beads and access to beads. All right, so this is a wonder bag, and when I tested it with the other two, I was disappointed in the wonder bag because it didn't retain heat as well as the other two. Because
The other two were pretty high standard. That was the hope sack and the wonder oven. Yeah, the one I just showed you. But what happened is my table it made a mark on the bottom of my table where the pot was. And so it was losing heat here, which made sense because it only has a 1-inch foam piece where this is shredded foam. So it was holding it where the shredded foam was and wasn't on the bottom. So this is what I did. I found me a piece of, it's just the inside of a bag to help reflect that heat back up. And it's gonna help a lot better to do that. Can you see that? I can take it out. It's like a bag that you carry pop in or something, you know, keep it cold. I just cut it. And so now it reflects the heat back up, okay? And then I like the wonder bag a lot better now that it doesn't mark my table. Okay, thanks for giving some information on the beads. That's awesome. Okay, thanks. I'm just seeing if I got, the most important one, now I gotta show you, right? We talked about it a little bit, but let me show you the specifics of the hope sack. Okay, you can see how big it is. And so I've got one pillow. Like I said, I do it so it's, 2.5 inches probably thick. Huh? Oh, I don't think so when I push it, right? Because it's gonna be tight. And you can see the tube, okay? And then the bottom one is exactly like the top one, okay? It's been sitting next to that. It's warm. It's been sitting next to that stove. That's funny. And then here's the bag. So it's super, just simple, really. It's just a matter of understanding the principles involved in it, okay? Okay, I'm dropping these down too for now. And I think it's time to go back to our slide show. Yes, it did. Okay, so stainless steel thermal cookers. There's quite a few out there, but they're hard to get. For instance, Amazon's probably your best spot to find a variety of different ones, and still a lot of times the shipping is expensive. Saratoga Jack's is local, which is awesome. Theirs is a foam unit, and it works really well. It's a little bigger, like the 7 liters bigger, and I'll teach you some principles about the 5.5 that make it really efficient too. This Mr. D, I have the 3 liter, which I think is awesome because it's smaller and it's still retaining almost as much as the bigger 7 liter Saratoga Jack. It's a vacuum sealed, and the shuttle chef is vacuum sealed too. I have all three of these, and they all work really, really nice. The two vacuum sealed are smaller, and so, but they still retain more because that's it's a more efficient form of insulation. But they're also pretty expensive. So for instance, this shuttle chef, the one with the nestled pot in it, is probably going to run about $250. And then I think it was just over $250. And to even get it, the one I saw from Australia to get it here was about $300 total. The Mr. D's is about $160 for that 3-liter one, with then shipping on top of that. And so the Saratoga Jack one being local really helps because the shipping is so much less and we don't have to ship overseas. You can find some of the other ones, different type. Tiger, I looked that up. It's another vacuum seal. You're just going to be paying the higher price for vacuum seal. Okay, so that's just the way it is. But what are you looking for? That's why I asked you what you want. It makes a difference to what you want. So if you're just looking for it to do a job, a Saratoga Jack thermal cooker or a Hope Sack or a Wonder bag or whatever is going to do the job if you're aware of what you're doing with it. They'll all do it straight across the board. A cooler with blankets is going to do it, right? Some more efficiently than others, but if you know how to tweak it, you can make them all be efficient. Okay, so the Saratoga Jack one, that one is on, let me show what kind you have. I'll show you what kinds they have while I tell you this. You don't have to look at that while we do that. I'm going to show you what we've got.
Cindy,
Yeah.
is the size of your Hope Sack on your website?
The size of the pot on the inside, is that what you want to know?
I think it's the size of the entire thing, but probably also the pot that would fit inside.
Thanks for bringing that up. The reality of the pot for the inside of a Hope Sack is that it really is the size that you want it to be. It'll hold an 8-liter on down to a 3-liter. So you can do any of those. Obviously, if you have a 3-liter full of beans and an 8-liter full of beans, the 8-liter full of beans is going to stay hot longer, but how long do you need it to stay hot? You probably don't need it to stay hot 12 or 15 hours, like it might do, right? And it might do that with an 8-liter, but maybe you want it to stay hot 5 hours, and it probably is really going to be able to do that pretty efficiently in a 3-liter, okay? And that really helps with people that don't want to make as much. And I would suggest trying, I have a couple pots that I have here from Silver Fire that I'll show you at the end, and they have a 2-liter. And it's extra efficient because of the way it's built. And I'm really curious to see how that works in a Hope Sack. I don't have that one yet. I have the 8-liter, but I don't know if it's a 7-liter. Actually, it might be a 7-liter. That's the one I have, but I want to try their 2-liter and see how long I can keep it hot. This is all playing, everyone. You guys just play with it and learn as you go, because that's really the way that it's going to work, that you're going to learn. Are there pots with lids with clamp to help avoid spillage? So yeah, I looking for that. I don't know. I have sort of a surprise at the end, like I said. For those of you that entered later, I have something to show you at the end, and it sort of relates to that, which I've really been excited about. So I'll show you when it's to the end. Anyway, because I'm going to open you some food and show you what I made. I made it for us for dinner. Sorry, if you were here, I'd share, but you're not. So here you go. Yeah, hay box, straw box. I haven't experimented with it. I've read about them. The comment I read, in fact, the book that's coming up here that I'll show you about thermal cooking, it talks about hay. Early 1900s, the hay boxes were popular. So they had hay surrounding your pot. A lot of times they had a piece of, can't remember what it's called, but it gets really hot in the bottom to help it stay hot. And oh, thanks for putting that, how tall it is, 18 inches tall and 15 inches across. Thank you. That's the Hope Sack. So back to the hay boxes. What they did is it smelled, right? And one thing about Kenya is on their trees, they have some trees that have the stuff that looks like cotton. I want to say I can't remember what it's called. I have to look it up. Anyway, it looks like cotton. So I'm like, oh, this would be a good insulator. Yeah, the ladies couldn't use it because it made everything smelled like it because it heated up. And that's what I think happens with the hay. Straw might not be as much, but it'll still work. But think of the fact that we're talking about air too. So straw is not quite as compact as shredded foam. but it's definitely going to work. Anything that doesn't conduct electricity can be used as an insulator. So there's a ton of stuff that could be used. So for sure, that would also work.
Cindy,
Okay.
you're at the time for the potatoes.
Okay, thank you. See why I need Tully and Julie. All right. So here we go. We're going to take this off. You can see that that's still the same in there. It's still really hot. Huh? It's only been 25 minutes, so I would anticipate that it's pretty close to the same 205 degrees there.
Potatoes is if I want to get rid of some of this, the water in them, I can put them back in the thermal cooker after I drain the water, and it will steam that, it'll clear off, it'll make them drier, if that makes sense. It's great to use with whole ones, put them back in for like 20 minutes, and then to pull them out, and they cut up a lot. You know, they feel like more like a baked potato instead of a boiled potato. But these are going to be perfect for mashed potatoes or potato salad or anything.
And I didn't have to hover over them at all. Did I hover at all to cook those potatoes? I totally didn't. So the Saratoga, well, I already talked about Mr. D's, but let me just show you while I have it here. His quality is excellent. I really like it. I think it's really nice. I got the one with the nestled pot because I can't imagine having a thermal cooker without 2 pots, because I can do 2 dishes. And that makes this one that's 3 liters, right, from a pot that'll feed, I don't know, 6 or 7, and then, but I can do 2 dishes and cut it in half, right? So I'll be cooking something for 2 or 3 instead of 6, like it's all in one, like 5 or 6, like if I'm doing something, you know, does everybody know what I'm saying? I think you do. And then I really like it because they have the heavy bottom pot in the inside. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit, but they also have the cast iron on the bottom. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes.
What brand is this?
This is the Mr. D. It's a vacuum sealed. And it lasts about 7 hours. And it's a 3 liter. So 7 hours for a 3 liter is pretty good. That's really pretty awesome to be able to do that. Here's Saratoga Jack. I know a lot of you guys have this one. So this is a 7 liter pot. It comes with the lid and a pot. This is the Deluxe. And so the difference between a Deluxe and a regular 7 liter is this. This is it. This right here is a Deluxe. That's a 7 liter. Okay. Seriously, I sell 95% of these. This, they do work. So just be careful. If you have it's fine if you have a 7 liter regular. Just be a little bit more careful. Like if it's really hot, don't put it in cold water because it'll warp, right? Other than that, it works pretty well. You can see I've had this and been using it for a long time, and this one too. So they're both awesome. But that's just shows you the difference in the two. And I'm a little bit of a, I don't know. I love the feel of a pot, if it's a real pot. I don't know if you guys know what I'm saying, but I do. Okay. Okay. So Saratoga Jack has the 7 liter and they have the 5.5. The 5.5 also has an inner pot. It's the thin one. He's going to try and get a thicker one. They just don't have one for him. Eventually we'll get a thicker pot on the inside. In all reality, he also sells separate inner pots that are the Deluxe, and we have those too. So if you ever want to upgrade your regular to a Deluxe, you can. But you can see the difference in size on these. And that's, we're going to talk about size too in just a minute. But overall, this is what happened. So he sold out at Christmas time from all of his cookers. And I didn't know they were getting, okay, Cindy, do any brands have pots that will work on an induction oven? Saratoga Jacks work on it. Don't use the ones with the heavy bottom will all work on an induction oven, okay? Yeah, they all will. In fact, the other one might too. I don't really know that, but I know the heavy ones will, the Deluxe will for sure. And I'm sure the Mr. D's will too, because it's got the heavy bottom pot. All right, back to where I was. Okay, Saratoga Jackson, they're special. So I called him right after Christmas and I said, hey, I need a cooker. He's like, well, I don't have any. I'm like, what? What? He says, yeah, they just all went. And I'm like, wow, because that, like a few weeks earlier, he had cookers and all of a sudden he didn't have cookers. And so, so he, last week, as most people know, I don't know if a lot of you probably know, that they put out a thing to get a certain amount so that they can order a next shipment in at the lower price. Well, he's given me the permission to be able to use this until I submit the order. It's the same price for mine. So all the prices on my website are exactly like his website, which is the exact same price as the old price. Okay, once my order is submitted, and I'll find out exactly the day I have to do that. Once my order is submitted, then my prices have to be raised on my website. But so I think, I mean, I'm grateful that I'm able to get the lower price and it didn't have to be within a certain amount of them. I mean, I think I already 20 have sold in the last like 4 days. Just like, thanks everyone. This is what I do. And I usually do it. I mean, it's sort of a labor of love, really, is what thermal cooking has always been. So it's really appreciative of all these little things to help when people support us in what we do. And that's the same for Amy and Jack and anybody that does this. So thank you, everyone. Any questions necessarily on this per se? Because that's all I'm going to talk about as far as what's out there in these. Now I'm going to teach you what we do with them.
So during this part, someone just asked kind of timeframes, like if you cooked a roast in the oven and it took 2 or 3 hours, you know, what the same type of thing would be in the thermal cooker. So
It's
just
good.
comparisons.
Yeah, so it's going to depend on the size of your meat. Okay, so if you have a roast that's about this big, it's probably a 25-minute boil, and it does have to be submerged in it. So it's more like a pot roast. So you're going to submerge it in liquid. It has to be in liquid to work in a thermal cooker. And so it's probably about that. Say it's that big, it's a 25-minute boil, and then you put it in the thermal cooker. And I like my meat in there 6 or 7 hours, honestly, and then it just falls apart. So, but you just put it on the morning and you're ready for dinner. So it's going to extend the time a little bit more, okay, out. I'm going to go, I have some pots at the end. I'm just going to show you a bunch, and I've been collecting them on my website to use in the Hope Sack. And I'm going to review some of them at the end and you guys can see them. Because Jack's special ordering me in these and these just for the Hope Sack. So I'm going to do some pre-orders on those. I don't have a price yet on those. But as soon as I get a price, it'll be listed on my website, and I can send that out in the email too. So just make sure you're on my email. Yeah, dried beans. Will somebody remind me of dried beans when we get there? Okay. Don't let me forget dried beans. Let's go over the principles of what this is. So Kelly, write dried beans down so I don't forget. But we want to go over the principles first of how this works, and then we can get into specifics. And maybe some of it we can figure out. Okay, so one thing I want to share is like I have with the Hope Sack pattern. By the way, I'm going to have an awesome special with these at the end. So I don't know, anyway, I'll share you that at the end. So online course, what I've done is everything I have in my head, I dumped. That's what she's telling me. Get your shredded foam off of you. All right, I got it off. Thanks, Leisha. Online course. So what I did is I did an online course, and this is what it looks like sort of when you go in. And so I have a thermal cooking course, and I have 12 lessons, and it's just a dump on everything I could think of in all the areas and specifics about everything. So it's a really great place to find information. And as you go down, like here, I went into container cooking, and it's a great way to utilize leftovers, right? And then you go down, and I've got downloading things that you can download, handouts and recipes. And then you can go, and it's got links to the videos that I have that have to do with container cooking. So you just go in and go straight to the links. And then I've got also my website, my social media stuff in, and my website so that you can get all the information you need. All right. So I'm trying to get places to put all the information I have So, and the awesome thing about these particular courses and the platform I have them on is I can add information at any time. Oh, here's bread, right? Bread's something that we like to cook in a thermal cooker in a container. Obviously, it's going to have to be in a container. So how to use a thermal cooker. So here's the Fireless Cookbook. This is a cookbook that I referred to. It was written in the early 1900s by Margaret Mitchell. And like she says, this is the attitude to take when it comes to thermal cooking. Mistakes in temperature tests in measuring in time and other conditions may result in failures which must not be imputed to the cooker, but the cook. I thought that was hilarious. Because I literally have had people tell me that the cooker doesn't work. No, the cooker does work. You just need to learn the principles to use to make the cooker work, and they will work every time. Okay. Have I made mistakes in the cooker? Absolutely. So here's a cause and effect. Why should science teachers not be given playground duty? And here's one. It's basically what you do at the beginning of thermal cooking is going to affect what happens at the end. So if you understand what you're doing at the beginning, then it's going to be really nice to, you're going to have success at the end because you're going to understand what you're doing. Okay. These a couple key things, and I go into a lot of depth in this in my course. Maximum efficiency I go by maximum efficiency as I'm teaching. That means I want to have the maximum amount, I want to use the least amount of fuel, and I want my food to stay hot at least 8 hours in a thermal cooker. Okay, so the principles I talk about, unless I say, but you can alter everything, right? So the original ways that I want to do it are definitely maximum efficiency. I want to use the least amount of fuel and have it in there 8 hours or more. Then we have some do's, okay? You have to, something must boil in thermal cooking, okay, to maximize the efficiency. It doesn't mean it always has to be boiling, depending on what you want to do with it. But if you want it to have maximum efficiency, whatever you have has to be boiling in there. And it doesn't mean it's water, it means food, right? It can be water, but it's food. 75 to 80% full. The don't use anything that's frozen. That's not going to work, because if you have a piece of frozen meat in the middle and it's boiling all around and you put it in a thermal cooker, that is just going to drop the heat immediately, right? Because it's just going to drop it to the temperature somewhere between the frozen thing and the hot thing. All right. And no peeking. Like I mentioned before, no peeking, because what happens when you peek? The heat just goes out. Okay. Oh no, but at the beginning it's okay. Julie's like, I'm sorry. I wanted the thought shot, so it's okay. It's not gonna. Huh? We're gonna leave them in there till the end. It's not gonna hurt. Cupcakes can stay in there. Julie asked me how long I want the cupcakes in. They'll just stay in as long as we're doing it until we're ready to open them, because they can stay in there a long time. It's just cake. How much do they usually? I usually leave them an hour to hour and a half. I don't really. This is the thing about thermal cooking and writing a cookbook and testing things, is that I just say everything stays in there at least 2 hours, because I didn't want to test to find out what minute before 2 hours it was done. Right? Life is just too short to do that, to make everything a million times until I can figure out exactly how many to what second, because there's so many variables, it just doesn't work that way. Okay, principles of thermal cooking. We have 4 of them. We have thermal mass, insulators, temperature, and timing. Thermal mass is the amount of. So it's the amount of whatever I have inside of this pot. Okay, that's the thermal mass. So we have thermal mass, and if we have a cool item, the heat's going to go toward it, right? If we have something hot inside, the heat's going to go out from the mass. And air is the enemy. So if we only have this much stuff inside of our pot, it's going to cool faster than if we have it full. Okay, and having it full is always going to last longer because it's more stuff hot. There's more thermal mass that's hot. Then we add the element of insulation, which I'm going to show you in just a sec, but we want to add insulation to it. We talked about it. If it doesn't connect to electricity, you can probably use as insulation. So we take the same piece of thermal mass that we talked about and add insulation to it, whether it's cold or hot inside, because a thermal cooker can be utilized to keep things cold too. So it will retain the coolness in there and keep things from, like ice cream, right? You can put ice cream in there and take it 5 hours and you're ready to scoop it when you get there. So it'll go each direction. But with a thermal cooker, what we're doing is we're retaining cooking, we're adding a layer of insulation on it to do it whichever way. Okay, so I've got 2 pots, okay, just like in the picture, and I've got 2 hope sacks there that are exactly the same size. So I'm going to fill these both to the top, and I'm going to bring them to a boil, and then I'm going to put them in the hope sacks, and then I'm going to cinch them up. And if you think about it, which one is going to cool fastest? Is it going to be the 5.5 or the 7 liter? Which one has less thermal mass? That's the one that's going to cool the fastest, right? It's this one. The only thing we did by adding insulation is we extended the amount of time that it will stay hot. And in a hope sack, it stays hot a long time, whichever size it is. But it's always going to get cooler in a smaller pot faster in a smaller pot than a large one. Okay, so is it possible to have a small pot retain heat as long as a large pot? That's the next thought. So you saw my 2 hope sacks that were exactly the same size, and this one is going to cool faster. So how do I make this one stay as hot as this one that has higher thermal mass? And it is possible. There's several ways to do that. First of all, the Saratoga Jack cookers, these 2 keep the heat about the same amount of time. Because if you look at them, they're almost the same size on the outside. So the 5.5 actually has more insulation on the inside than the 7 liter, which makes it so they're more even as far as heat retention. Okay, so that's how that can work. One of the ways we increase the amount of the insulation, we increase the quality of the insulation. So here I have a basket, which isn't going to really be the best option for retaining heat. And then the best thing that's out there is actually vacuum sealed. Back in the early 1900s, about the time that the book I was talking about talks about hay boxes and things, they also talked about the fact that they discovered that something else that worked really well for retaining heat was asbestos. So they used to use asbestos for that, and then they decided it wasn't. They also in the book say, you know, vacuum sealed would be really nice to have it at a home level or something, but it will always be commercial because it's just too expensive to be able to have that on that level. And so I think that's pretty funny that now we actually have them available to use. The other thing is to add thermal mass. Okay, so that's what Mr. D did in his thermal cooker. By adding the cast iron on the bottom of his pot, it increases the amount of time, it increases the thermal mass and the amount of time that the stuff inside this pot is going to stay hot. Okay. But if you understand those, you know, and even if you're doing your own thermal cooker and having that, you can see how you can manipulate things to make them work. And you know, with whatever you're using. Temperature, boiling point is 212 degrees at sea level. So depending on what location you're at, let's say it's at sea level, if the cooker loses 5 degrees an hour, and I have the Celsius in there too, what is the temperature after 8 hours? So that's 40 degrees less. So that would be, what's 40 degrees less? Anyway, 112, I always say 105 is what our altitude up in Utah is, around 205, around 205. So take 40 degrees off, it's about 165 after 8 hours, which is still plenty above the danger zone. So why do we care about temperature? It's because of safety. We want to keep our temperatures above 100, about 140 degrees at any given time, okay? And I go into more detail on that in my course, but I got to keep moving because we're already an hour, over an hour, okay? Timing, there's 2 times to think about timing with thermal cooking. One is when we're boiling, and one is while it's waiting, okay? So while you're boiling, how long do you let it boil? I like to have there's a few things, most things you bring it to a boil like a potato. If it's got, I do it with pieces of meat. If I have bite-sized pieces of meat, it needs at least a 4-minute boil. And if I have like a bigger piece of meat, I like to do a 10-minute boil. So it's nice and tender when I open it. If I have beans are a 10-minute boil, unless they're like really old, and then I have some tricks, and I go over that in the course and in my book, both. And like grains are like about a 3-minute boil for rice. So they're not very long boils. And then when we get to container cooking, that's a whole little different thing. Container cooking has a little bit different view on how things boil, because you're not going to be boiling what's inside that container. You're going to boil what's around it. So it's not going to stay long. It's not going to stay hot as long as if it's just all thermal masses boiling. Okay. So, and so there are some adaptation things that are adapted to that. But so you're going to pay attention to how long it's going to boil, and you're going to pay attention to how long it stays in the cooker. And that's why I mentioned that I always say 2 hours or more. Sort of depends on when you want to eat. I find myself between 4 and 5 hours opening things. But a lot of times they'll stay for 8 hours, or in some situations even longer. And then sometimes I want to eat quicker, like the potatoes were only 25 minutes. Okay. Basics of how to use containers in a thermal cooker. Yeah, there's a lot of different containers. And the Saratoga Jack comes with both the steamers in both sizes. So that's so you can steam your vegetables. And then there's different containers that you can use for bread. These are some things that I would say to have in your thermal cooking kit. I would get 2 of these. These are snap down lids. It's a glass container, and you can make a lot in here, and you can make it for less people, and you can cook things in them that don't come to a boil. That's the thing I love about them. Okay, so snapware, I would say you want 2 of these. They stack inside of a 5 liter. So that's if you have a 7 liter. If you have a 7 liter, if it's a 5 liter, you only need 1, and you'd want to trivet with it. Also, bread containers. These are 2 that I use. I also have a covered one. I like this one because it sort of cuts like a piece of bread, although it's round. And I go into information. I have a whole article on my blog or on my website. Go in the website, you can find it under the blog section of how to actually do bread. And if you get the course or anything, there's links. My YouTube channel has videos on how to make bread, because we're not going to cover that today. There's just not time. My favorite containers to use are mason jars. I love to use mason jars. I use wide mouth as much as possible where you don't have a neck in them. So the smaller ones go straight up, and then the pint size I like to use. You can use the 3 cup size too. It just sort of depends on what I'm making and what I want to use. The 1 cup wide mouth will stack. And so you can make more in that with those. You know, you can make more items in your meal with those. So I love mason jars. Container cooking, you can see there's different, here's some more pictures of containers. We're making bread. Here you can see the snapware and oven bags. I love to use oven bags too. And I really do, the container cooking section of my course goes into a lot of that, but I also have some of this on my website that is already there. And any questions like these that you can think of that you want for more articles and more videos, that's another place to add them. And if you have any questions, I wish I had more time to go into tons of specific information, but if you have them, we'll have to answer them right here, the specific ones. Let me talk about beans real quick, because I think I'm moving away from food in just a sec with the cookbook. But so beans, this is what I do with beans. And I read an article, a book one time that did some testing on beans, so I tried it. So, and this is not really old beans. I talk about different ways to adapt to really old beans that come out of food storage. But if they didn't come out of food storage and they're relatively, not like 30 years old, maybe they can still be relatively old. I soak them overnight with salt, strain them, and then boil them with salt the next day. I bring them to a boil and let them boil for 10 minutes and then put them in a thermal cooker for about 6 hours. And it can be longer, it doesn't really matter. But I almost always had success with that. If I didn't, usually it's because they're old beans. And so what I do is I just put them back on the stove and boil them again, and then put them back in the thermal cooker and see if that will help. Okay. I can see we might have a question. No, we're good still, Cal? Yeah.
So the one question was, if you're just using the upper pot to make something like rice, what needs to be in the lower pot to take up that space? Is it just boiling water or?
Yeah, whatever you want to do. You could prep things for another meal. You could do like we did today and do potatoes that in the lower one and then save them for a salad or not something the next day. You could do a different grain. You could, if you're doing rice in the top one, I probably wouldn't do beans in the bottom one because those aren't compatible for time.
What if you just wanted to use the upper one? What would you do to take up space?
Water. You're right on as far as that goes. You want to fill that with some kind of something. So you would boil water. Yeah. If you didn't want to put something else in it, but you could definitely cook another part of a meal or prep for a different meal and utilize the space all at once. So, all right. The benefits of thermal cooking. When I was in Mexico, this was teaching in Mexico, and they were so excited because fuel was important to them. They could see that we're only using enough fuel to get it to a boil, and then we're putting it, we're putting it in an insulator and not utilizing more fuel, just like with the beans, right? Instead of boiling them for 2 hours, they're boiling them for 10 minutes. And they were super excited about that. And then I went to Kenya, and this is a picture in Kenya of a kitchen. They said, Cindy, you got to come in the kitchen. And so I went in the kitchen, and this woman is so sweet. I see her every time I go now. She's awesome. And she actually sort of, you can see the stove is sort of like a rocket stove because they put the kindling in one side, and then it's a nice big, like cementy type thing, right? The clay so it's going to retain heat really well. And so then they just put their pot on top. And so I went in and took the picture, and she showed me her house, and she was, there's 2 end coves. We're sitting on one of them. So there's actually 3 end coves, and there's 3 beds in there where they sleep, and we're sitting there right on one, and it's not very wide, right? It maybe was 8 feet across, I'm guessing. And then, so the stove was at one end with a little tiny window up above it for a little bit of light and ventilation. And so it was really, really hot. It was a hot day. So I was really, really hot. And the smoke was pretty smoky inside of there. But the thing that just struck me the most that I had a hard time with getting over is that I could not, I come home and I'm going to cook and I'm opening all the windows, right? There's no windows to open. It was dark. It was dark inside of there. And so just the things to be able to make it so these ladies could not have to be over that stove as long was just really something that was an inspiring thing to do. So, and they love it. I'll tell you what, those ladies love their hope socks, and they have a sewing center now and they can make them and sell them. I don't know. There they are. They're awesome. And anyway, so I've been 4 times, and I'm sure I'll make it back. I already they're trying to get me to go on one of the trips this fall. We'll see what happens. Not that I don't want to go. We'll just see where life takes us. So I have a let's make sense of thermal cooking, and it's what does live mean? Because I call it my live cookbook, and I have the hardback isn't the live cookbook, it's the digital one. So I have a hardback and I have a digital, and this is what it looks like, a lot like the others. And the thing I love about this is that I've gone in and I've corrected things. I've added recipes. I've added a whole new section actually on my. I've added this whole new section on like my hope sack and how to use those type of, how to cook in some of those. And that's also in my course section. So I've been able to I can keep adding stuff and add links. And when people go in, they can, as I do videos, I add those. This will actually be in the course. This particular video will be added as a link to the course. And so this is what it looks like. You come in and on the right-hand side is a list of everything, the categories. And then like this is a container cooking again, right? So we're going to get creative, a bit more advanced. And then we're going to go through the recipes like chicken enchiladas, ham and potato casserole. A lot of these are exactly what's in my book. And some of them, then I've added a couple more. Okay, and there's bread. And as you go scroll down, here's the different links to the videos I have. And then anyway, different activities. So I've got videos associated with them. So if I've made a video, my goal is to get so many videos, as many videos as I possibly can for all the recipes I have in my book. And that's always going to be there. It's not like when I run out of books. So when I'm getting down a little bit further on my books, so eventually I'll run out of them. I'm thinking of maybe doing a second edition, right? Or even reprinting them. Then it's the old information. But in this live book, I can make it current all the time, which I love. Hey, Leisha, I need to clean up my mess. I need my counter space. Don't I love having daughters? She's awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk about fuel sources. I'm going to show you my favorites for preparedness. First one I want to talk about, I'm going to talk them sort of together, but butane. The reason I like butane, obviously there's a lot of other ones. The reason I like butane is because butane can be used indoors. You know, you want to crack a window. That's always smart to do if you've got some kind of quiet flame going or whatever. You could do that. But it's made for catering, so it is made to use indoors. Right? With butane, and I have one here. When I open, I'll show you when I go to after the next screen. Butane, I'll just show you. I have a slide on it. So that's why I like that one. And I'm going to go and share with you information of exactly how many canisters you need per day in an emergency, you know, to use for how many meals. Okay. I'll show you that in just a sec. Silver Fire is my other one. And I ran into Todd with Silver Fire at a couple shows, and he showed me what he had. And he used to work for another company that made these, and he just saw so many ways he could improve on them. And so he did. They're lighter weight, and he has a whole combustion way that it goes to really maximize the fuel. And so you only are using kindling. So this is the thing I thought about. So here's the stove. The stove's relatively inexpensive. It's going to cost somewhere between $25 or $30. On my website, I have one that's probably, twice as much as that. It's a little higher end one. But the butane is, they're going to cost $2.50 or $3 a piece, probably somewhere around there. So the butane canisters, right? So you're paying more for your fuel. Here, you're going to pay more for the item, but basically your fuel's free because you're using kindling. You're just going to find sticks and twigs. That's all you use in any of these. And I have them here, 2 of these I have here. I'll show you what they look like. And then here, let me show you this, the butane. Approximately 2 meals per day, because I'm thinking if there's an emergency, I'm probably not eating 3 meals a day. I'm going to do 2, okay? And so at 1 canister on high, I'm going to just do high. There's, it lasts longer if you're simmering or whatever, but honestly, I think it's hard to get to simmer sometimes. It turns off. So, and if you're cooking, boiling in thermal cooking, a lot of times you're boiling, you want on high anyway. So I'm just gonna go straight with 2 hours per canister on high. So that means in 1 week, if I'm doing 2 meals a day, I need a 4-pack, okay? And then if I wanna last longer, then like if I have 7 of those 4 packs in a case of 28, it should last 7 weeks, but I'm thinking it might not last that long unless you're careful, but at least being careful, it should last that long. But that gives you an idea of what to have in your home, to have prepared wise as far as butane goes if we have an emergency. Okay, and I think it's time for me to stop the share and show you what I got going on. Okay, so here's my butane stove that I picked up somewhere. I don't even know where. The ones I have on my website are black. That's how come I know I didn't get it from there. I was out in the barn, and this is the one that pulled up. So there's a lock on them, and you come up and really you just pull it. But I have to unlock it and turn it back off lock each time. Anyway, we don't need to keep it on. They do work really. I'm gonna go get one of my other ones, but it's in the barn, so I'm not gonna bore you with that today. Okay. All right. So that's the butane. And that's something to think about. Practice with your butane, right? That's a perfect example of making sure you know your butane stove works well. Because if that's the only one I had in an emergency, I'm going to be fighting with that thing the whole time. Who all knows what a rocket stove is? I know you guys can't tell me, but that's usually what I say in a class, is who knows what a rocket stove is. And I love this rocket stove. It's not very heavy. And it has this little thing to feed in. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can. So it feeds in, your kindling goes in here. And then the combustion, the way it works on the inside, it really does put a lot of heat out the top of here. Okay. So Julie doesn't know what that is. So here's another one that you guys might have seen. This one, it's not clean because it's been in the barn. But you can see that it's like got clay stuff in there, right? Like bricks. So it's pretty heavy. But it's basically the same thing. Your pots go right on top. Okay, so the flames go right up the middle. And it's insulated. We're talking about insulation, right? This is insulated, but it's insulated with really soft, it says, I don't know what it's called, on the inside between the metal. And this one right here has got like the brick inside. And it would be the same thing, okay? So those are awesome because it's kindling. Those have to be used outside, okay? Don't even attempt to have those inside. They have to be outside. So this right here, the bags that he has for these, you know, even a thermal cooker could go in there. They're insulated, but what he does, they're totally waterproof. So if you took them like camping, you can set that up here. Thank you. If you went camping, you could take and fill this with water and you have something to carry back your water with, which I thought was a really smart thing to do and utilize it for multiple things. So this one is called a Hunter. And this one's different than a rocket stove. This one is a tent stove, okay? So it actually has chimney. Thanks, Jules. Okay, so they'll keep going. So it's a tent stove, but it works differently. It doesn't have a place where you put stuff in. You literally put all your kindling in here first and then cover it over, and then it heats, so it'll heat a whole room, right? So if you had it hooked up to work, so in an emergency, you had a way to hook it up in a room so it's ventilating out, because the fire's not coming back into here, right? You're gonna cover this part over. The pot goes on top. And then all your fumes are coming in and out, okay? And it gets hot. I copied and pasted on my website all of his information on how this works. And there was another one that's also a tent stove that's bigger than this one. So you could actually probably put 2 pots on it, and there's a picture on there of it in like a greenhouse, which is really cool. But anyway, you can tell when I saw his stuff, I really liked it. So I collected, I sort of saved up and got him at some shows. And I'm really glad I did, because these are the first things I would go to. I'd figure out, I don't know how I'm going to do this in my house if I knew it was cold and it was winter, but I'd figure it out. And it'd be really smart of me to do it ahead of time and not later. Right? What? Because without Julie, what am I going to do? Showing me how to make it work. All right. So, and I do have several of his items on my website, and it's just exactly what his pricing is. Because, okay, these are the pots for the Hope Stack. And I know we're almost to the end. So I found these pots at this. I found some of these, and they're actually pretty heavy on the bottom. Let me put it out of this. You don't want to. Let me just look at the next slide so I know where we are. Okay. Yeah, we're almost to the very end. The Saratoga Jack ones I told you about, I'll have the outside, the 2 middle pieces, and this is a 7-liter, and that will work great. And then I found some of these. And so I'm going to put these on my website. Some of the places you can go to find them, because they're sort of hard to find. I even looked online and it was hard. I found some at an Oriental store, and because I don't want to spend so much money. I mean, these are probably going to run $30 or something when I get them on. I'm not exactly sure. Jacks will be more than that. I'm sure of that, because you'll have the heavy pot and pot on the inside and the outside. But I am going to have both sizes of those. This one is a silver fire one, and this one's pretty cool. So it actually comes with a steamer. By the way, this steamer fits inside of the 7-liter Saratoga Jack one, and the lid will fit on it. So when I use it in a Hope Sack, I use my Saratoga Jack lid instead of having this tall thing on there. And this does fit in the Hope Sack. It's snug, but it fits. See this? Here's the pan. It has this whole area around it. because it fits over, especially on the silver fire. It can go on here. And even on the one with the flame, the flames go up into here and heat up, and it gets it hot way faster. So instead of only heating here, it's heating the whole entire sides of it, because it's heating all the way along the sides too, and the bottom. So it heats up really fast. So it saves on the amount of time that it takes to heat up your stuff in your pot, which is cool. I thought, anyway, they also have a 2-liter one of these. So I'm going to get one of those in and try it, and try that in the hope salad. So I have one more that I want to show you. One of the problems or the concerns that people have, like has already been mentioned, is how do you get to feed people with a pot this big? How do you feed 2 people or 3 people? And that's a viable question, right? I'm having the same problem. My family's they're grown up, and Leisha and I are here, and we don't have a lot of, we don't need this big thing. So we do container cooking, and that sort of helps. But this is what I found, and I was super excited. All right. No, the hope sack. This is a hope sack. So look what I found. If you see that, there's 3 layers. Is that just the coolest thing you've ever seen? And it's hot. The handle's not too hot, but the other ones are hot. So I'll show you what I made. Huh? What? This is my surprise. All right. So this has been in since 4 o'clock, by the way. So it's been in 4.5 hours. 4? Yeah, 4, almost 5 hours. Where did the hot cuts go? Oh, there they go. Okay. So I made a whole meal because I had 3 places to put food, right? So I had some leftover squash in the fridge, spaghetti squash. So I had plenty in there, so I made that. I add a little olive oil and some onions from my other thing, and there's a few mushrooms in there. There's steam coming out of that. There is steam coming out of that, and it is 5 hours later. And then the next one, I made some more potatoes to make mashed potatoes. So, I'm not spraying them. Okay, and then
I made gravy, like a stroganoff, some gravy in there. So it's got hamburger, well, onions, garlic, mushrooms, hamburger. This is the one where I added a little bit of cream mushroom soup, but I added, they should close your ears. I added almond milk because I didn't have any dairy. So I had the spices I had to adjust to take care of the almond milk taste, okay?
all right. So I know I have, are you talking about 3-layer pots they sell on Amazon for hot pots? Yeah, they are hot pots. And I do have a source, so I'm going to post them on my website and see how many I can bring in. So if I sell out of them and then you want some, we might end up having to do a waiting list, and I'll see how many I can get in. Okay. So anyway, was that a pretty cool surprise? Are you guys excited about my surprise? I don't know if everybody is, but I was super excited that it worked. Couple tips on it though, they don't have handles when you're boiling, and also you don't want the heat so hot that it's going to scorch it or whatever. I just heated them on my butane stove, or not my butane, I just heated them on my stove over there. And think about the fact that if an emergency, this is more just everyday using, right? If you need to make less food. In an emergency, you're going to have to think about that as far as sources of heat. So if you have a thermal cooker with 2 pots, you need 2 sources of heat. You could do it where you hurry and put one in and take it out. You know, if that's all you can do, you're going to do it with one heat source, right? So you're going to put it in there and you're going to hurry and put the first pot in the thermal cooker. And then as soon as the other one's boiling, you're going to hurry and open it and put the other one in and close it back up again, because that's what you have to do. But if you can plan ahead and have 2 thermal cookers or 2 stoves going, then the fuel's going to pretty much always be the same. It's just you have an extra space to put your pot on to heat up. Okay. anyway, they don't fit inside the Saratoga Jack. This is a Hope Sack one that I found for the Hope Sack. Saratoga Jack doesn't need it really. I guess the thing about it is you could probably put these two it's hot, in the Saratoga Jack with water around them, but it's not sealed in the middle and you're gonna get water in the bottom one. So this is definitely something for the Hope Sack or the Wonder Bag or the Wonder Oven, okay? Or something that's homemade. It could be something for a cooler or a box or a tote. It's those kind of things that are not a stainless steel one, okay? Sorry, I can't help you with the stainless steel 7-liter one, but at least I was excited to find that part. So let's see what I have at the end, let's share one more time. I think we're getting to the end of shares. And then if you have some questions, we can see what we can answer. Okay, so you can see I just showed you some on there, the two that we have, and I'm on the hunt for finding more pots for the other things that aren't the stainless steels, because the Hope Sacks are really pretty inexpensive for people to make. And it gives people everywhere an opportunity to utilize thermal cooking if they, have to figure out something. Obviously, I really enjoy my stainless steel ones too. So anyway, okay, let's see what we got. So information is available. I have been I'm rounding up as much information as I can to help get this, to help learn about this. And I love that Wendy, who helped put this together, also had some videos of some other people who were doing it. And I really want to go back and take some time and learn some of those. I don't think I'm going to listen to Spanish ones though, because it's going to do me no good. But they looked like they were really doing an awesome job in finding information. I want to have a hub and a source of where all this information can be found. But from the stuff I have so far, and I'm collecting some, is at thermalcooking.net. And they have, and I have my website, Facebook, YouTube, and Pinterest. Pinterest is a good place to go on my Pinterest one. It's thermal cooking, because I'm pulling everybody else's stuff in too. That's actually the best place for finding a whole bunch of different ways and recipes and people that are using thermal cooking. That's an awesome place to look, because I've really been working on that this last 6 months. Okay, my email is cindy@thermalcooking.net. If you have any questions or you're looking for something, go ahead and let me know. Okay, the special. So on my website, for anybody that doesn't know, or you go in there, and the ultimate combo for my 3 courses that are the cookbook course, the pattern course, and the thermal cooking course, it's about, if I'm going to just go out there and do the prices at full price, which, it was like $250 or something for what I was advised to do. So I have those 3 marked at $99. And for the people that have it here, it's $50. So I'm going to send out this link, and if you want to write it down, you can write it down. But I'm also going to send it out to my email, and by following this link, it will take you right into the $50 for all 3. So that's like under $20 a piece for each of them. And so anyway, what are they doing? They're getting the ultimate, or the cookbook. These are all digital products. So you're getting the live cookbook, Let's Make Sense of Thermal Cooking cookbook. You're getting the Let's Make Sense of, the thermal cooking course, and you're getting the Hope Sack pattern that I made for the video pattern. Okay, the video pattern includes the original pattern, so you can download the pattern. And the cookbook also includes, the digital one includes a downloadable digital version of my original cookbook also. So that's also in there. So I think it's pretty awesome. I just thought that I would, this is about knowledge, you guys. I tried to get the lowest price I could to share the information, because there's so much here if people have this information. So share this link, and you can share it as much as you want. If people want to get this information, they can, and this is super reasonable, and it helps me be able to do this. Because that's, I have to go to work, right? So I don't get to do this as much as I would love to be able to do this, but it helps me definitely move toward that. This is again the email, and Kelly, if you could put that, I don't know if you already have, put it in the thing. Oh, so she didn't. So I'll go to, I'll see what I can do. Oh, I already opened, I got one more cooker to open. So let's go. All right, so Kelly's not there. Let's see. Okay, but once you purchase those 3 things, they're forever yours. I'm not gonna take them away. You'll have access to those sites forever. As long as I'm doing this, you'll have access to the sites, and then I am always gonna be adding things to them. So they really are, I don't know about the pattern probably doesn't need a whole lot added to it, but everything else sort of does. So anyway, share away. I'm happy. I'll let anybody have that special at this point. I just think the information needs to get out there. We need to open cupcakes. Where are cupcakes? Still hot. They're hot. And I don't know how long they've been in there. I'm assuming they're done. That one stopped. Most of the time they just fall out, but I can tell that one raised more than I wanted it to. Would you like to test them? Do you dare? It's moist, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Does it taste like a cake mix?
No.
It doesn't. Doesn't taste at all like a cake mix. And could you imagine having my grandkids come over? Oh, mine are really young still, but having them open these and just having a whole activity project. I feel these little ones too full. Usually they fall out much better than that. Anyway, they're super, super moist. I don't know if you can, there's no way to see it. They're not dry at all. Anyway, and they're really good. Oops. I have a mess to clean up. Actually, maybe Leisha has a mess to clean up. I don't know. Somebody has a mess to clean up. Let's see, the dual fuel butane propane cooker for about $50. The difference will not, okay. Difference have to do with the altitude and of its lower temperature. Oh yeah, you can buy the dual fuel butane propane cooker for about $50. Yeah, I have, there's one, that's an awesome idea, is to get one that's dual. Oh, I'm gonna look into that and see if I can find someone to where to source those, because that's an awesome idea to have that so that you can use butane or propane. I like that idea even better. Okay, I'm gonna put that on my list of things to do. Thanks for that suggestion. Yeah, we have Coleman, wood stoves, all of that works great. You're very welcome. I hope that it's helpful to everybody, because I don't know, sometimes I think I'm crazy, but you guys help me keep going, right? Being here. So, all right, any questions that you have on the information that we talked about? I know I didn't get in specifics for cooking, but we've been going for 2 hours, so I couldn't do really specifics other than the things that I showed you. And other than that, that's what I have for today. Good, was it worth your 2 hours of time? I don't know, hopefully. Jay, thank you. Yeah, it's good. Oh, good, yes. Oh, thermos cooking is a lot the same. Yeah, thermos cooking, I'll do an article on that. That's awesome. You guys thinking of anything, add that information in and we'll go ahead and, yeah, okay. Oh, can we get the Fiesta chicken that Jack and Amy do? Yeah, it's in the book for the the Saratoga Jack thermal cooker that comes, but yeah, I know how to make that. That's super easy. We can add that somewhere. Sure. On the pot that is 3 pots stacked together, can we put that into water to boil? I don't think so. I think it's not going to hold the seal. I think you're going to get water inside. Okay, that's why I have the glass ones with snapware. Those have the ring around it that'll keep the water out. Okay, thank you. Oh, these. Thank you, Julie. You're so welcome, everyone. I'm glad. And I'm excited to get the cookers in too, because it's been a while since we've had them. The recording will be available as soon as I look at everything and see if I want to edit anything together. So it'll be decent video. So hopefully within a week or so, I'll have them all posted and sent out. For a while, I'm going to have it available to probably anyone that wants to really watch it. And then you guys will always have access, just like if you get the courses, because you have that link. I'm never going to get rid of that link. But I'll eventually just put the actual video in my course where it's not available to everybody. Okay. I will put the 3 stackable ones available. I don't know, I'll probably put 10 or something up to as soon as I can figure out the price and get them on my website, because I already have them on there. I didn't get a chance to add the price. And I need to go in and see if I can, how many more I can get, but she sounded like I could get as many as I needed. It would just take a little bit of time to get them. So you might have to wait, but I'm pretty sure I can get maybe 10, okay? On Pinterest, I think it's just thermal cooking. I don't know. Do Let's Make Sense of Thermal Cooking. It'll pull it up under that too. But I've been, like I said, I've been working on that a lot, and I have some more plans for that too. So I've got some good things going on there. Okay, good. I'm happy to still be here and answer as many questions as you guys can come up with. Okay, besides, we still have 80 people on here. Okay, so anyway, can you tell us what's in, what is all is in your book? Sure, let me grab it. I got to the very end and didn't even show you my book. So here's the book. So inside of it, let me get to the table of contents. Here it is. So I have a table of contents right here, and what I talk about is sort of why I did this. There's the basics of thermal cooking. So what is it? Where can you use it? Converting recipes. I switched up the converting recipes part for the digital one because I like it better. Why do you use it? Who do you use it? When? How? The safety protocol. It's more than just a cookbook. I go over freeze-dried and dehydrated meals, sort of long-term food storage and what to do with that. And then the ready meals are more short-term food storage, because the whole book is sort of focused on food storage and preparedness. And so the ready meals are like canned goods and things you might have in your preparedness that way. The meat of the meal does like more fresh ingredients and recipes with that, and talks more about the meats and how that works. Container cooking is in here, not as extensive as what's online though. Move to the side, so we've got grains, beans, pasta, and vegetables. And then we've got desserts. So we have breads, desserts, drinks, yogurt, sterilizing water, which is really important. Yeah, so yeah, it's going to work great. Oh, I'll talk about the steamer in just a sec. Seasonings, I have some seasoning kit some recipes for seasonings to add to the recipes that are in the other part. And then the labels for your meals that are like the freeze-dried and dehydrated ones. Let's see, I'll show you. Like these. I have meals already made up recipes for you to make them. Okay. I love having a hardback book, right? If you're a preparedness, you need a hardback book for preparedness. But the digital one's awesome for the day we live in. It's just that if you don't have electricity, the digital one's not going to do you any good. So I'm a believer in having books too. I love books. I don't know about you guys. Okay. So how much liquid will, okay. We're talking about steamer. How would that work if I'm making something in the bottom? How much liquid would need to be in the bottom, or could I cook something else in the bottom? Yes, absolutely. Cook something else in the bottom, whatever you want to cook, because that's going to have enough liquid to make the steam. And then you're going to do the vegetables in the top of the steamer. Okay, it's going to work. It's going to work nice. That, let's see, did I get, okay. Spillage tips in like the Hope Sack, is that what you mean? Something like that. It's whenever I use my Hope Sack or one of my other things, I use one of these. Sorry, it's an oven bag. I literally put the oven bag in here, put the hot boiling pot inside the oven bag and then slide it into my fabric thermal cooker so that it doesn't, and then I tie at the top, and then anything that gets messy stays in here, and then I just rinse them out. Okay. Rice, I like to do a 3-minute boil, and then I keep it in the cooker. I do everything 2 hours, right? It's going to be done before 2 hours, probably an hour and a half, maybe even less, but it's a 3-minute boil, 2.5 cups rice, 4 cups of water, 2-minute boil. Yes, I absolutely have local pickup. Don't pay for shipping if you don't have to pay for shipping. I'd rather have you come pick it up if you can. That would be awesome, but I'm happy to ship too. So yeah, definitely local pickup. And it's on there. You just choose it at checkout. A few weeks ago, I bought some of those bags in markdown. That's awesome. BBB. I don't know what BBB is. Yeah, get those bags on sale whenever you can, because they can get pricey. But you don't use them that. I mean, I use them a lot because I'm out a lot, but somebody at home wouldn't, because they're so sturdy. You can rinse them. Oh, Bed Bath & Beyond. Thank you. You can tell I don't go there. We don't go there very often. That's good to know, a good source for those bags. Awesome. Dollar Tree sometimes, oh, nice. Dollar Tree sometimes has the oven bags. And those oven bags aren't, you don't want the ones with the crock pot, they're the wrong direction. And you don't want the turkey ones, they're too big. They're the oven bags, okay? The ones that are, I can tell you the size, 16 inches by 17 and a half. What kind of foods would you usually need more than 2 hours? Just larger pieces, definitely larger pieces of meat, your grains, well, yeah, your grains, your beans for sure. But I do think I agree that it has to do with meat. I like to keep my meat in to make sure it's tender, but I usually always have meat in there. So a lot of things will be done faster. Sometimes you're just doing a warmer, right? So like the freeze-dried dehydrated meals, you're bringing it to a boil and sticking it in there. So it's ready, pretty well ready when you're ready to eat it. So the beauty of that is you can eat it within like half hour, or you can eat it in 8 hours, it's still hot. Okay. What kind of foods? Okay, yeah, meats. We already read that one. Okay, awesome. All right, perfect. All right, trying to think if there's something else I want to share with you. What else did I need to say? Julie, do you have Julie? Julie's like, I don't care. Julie's here to take my video, so she did awesome. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Nisha. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly's she's taking care of you guys on the other end. My brother had surgery today, so, oh, Saratoga ducks. When can we expect Saratoga ducks to be ready for pickup? So this is what I found out about Saratoga ducks. Since we all know it's a pre-order and they have to be paid ahead or we don't get the price, right? But he did say that the run starts the first week of April is when it's set for. And so it'll take 3 weeks to run it, and then it needs to be shipped. So you're gonna do that again at least. And then it depends on how easy it is to, so we're out to May. I don't know, and that's a guess. Okay. Can you order the deluxe pot separately for the Saratoga? Yes, we're gonna be able to order those. I'm doing the pre-order for those. And the inner pots, they are available now. And if I don't have them on my website, I'll make those active, because I just found out the other day he has those in the smaller inner ones. But I'm going to do a pre-order for anybody that wants the bigger ones, well, both sides of them with all 3 pots to use in another type of thermal cooker. And they will come with the lids. The lids I don't think are available right now, but they will be. In fact, I know I got the last lid he had. So I have, I think, 2 5-liter pots that are brand new with lids that I'll put on there, because we don't carry those at all. But those will only be 2 available. So I would say you're right. Amy said late May, early June. I totally have to agree with that. Okay, that's what I would guess. How do we create a login to sign in to purchase your $50 special? Oh, does it tell you to log in? Just put your name in there, your email. Is it an email? And then it's going to give you the option, I think. I haven't gone in there that way for so long. Yes, steamer pots I'm sure are coming too. He's going to order everything. Jack said they were ordering steamer pots, more steamer pots in this order. So I'll have all that stuff and we'll just get it all shipped. Any orders I get, I'll ship out as soon as we get them. So as soon as they come in. Back to the login. I'm already logged in. So I think it's email to set up a login. Or doesn't it just have a place for you to buy it? If it just has a place for you to buy it, then you pay for it, and then it should have you just, your login is going to be your email, and your username is going to be your email. It will set that up automatically. So maybe that's it. Do your email for a username and an email for a password. Try that. See if that works. Okay. Why don't they make the, yes, 5.5 in a deluxe? That is an awesome question. I ask that every time they go to order more. So he's going to see if they can upgrade the quality of the metal, the steel in that inner pot if they don't have one available. The problem is because of it's so expensive for him to go ahead and have one made from scratch, to have it all molded, because every single component costs him a lot of money to do it. So they're not going to. It hasn't been feasible economically to do that. Okay, yeah, scroll down a little bit and and you find the button that says buy combo. Yeah, thank you. I didn't realize that you hadn't seen the buy combo button yet. Okay, awesome. So your username, and what it is it sets up your email and a password, and they're both should be your email address. Okay. It came in. It will tell you that in a email that comes to you. You don't need a special code because it's just $50. Okay. When you go into my other ones that I have, I sometimes have codes, but nothing's as low as this. So you don't need a code. It's just part of the program. Okay, I hope that made sense about the email. So anyway, to get in, to log in. So, and email me if you have a problem. It sometimes, just anyway, it's a relatively new company that made the platform, but I really, really like it. So they're always working on tweaking out the little bumps that might be there, but they really added a lot to it. And it just makes it so we can have, so I put up with a few little things that I'm getting used to because I love the fact that it will let me add to it all the time and keep adding content for people. So you'll really only have to buy it once because I'm just going to keep adding that stuff there unless somehow I come up with another subject. I don't know. Is there another subject in thermal cooking? I don't think so. I don't know. But, I can think of thermal cooking, retained heat cooking. I can think of some more, right? Wouldn't it be awesome to have one on like brick oven, like one to make a brick oven or pizza oven and then how to use it and lots of recipes? I would love that. But I don't know. Anyway, awesome. That's good. Okay, any other questions? You guys have been wonderful. Sorry, I can't talk to y'all. I think you can get, what sort of forms of payment do I accept on my website? There's credit cards or there's PayPal, I believe, or you can just email me and we can, through the website, I think those are it. I don't know if there's a thing to pay cash, but you can email me and just come get it. And if you'd rather just do it that way. Yeah, PayPal works fine and credit cards work fine. I have a pretty good system for a program that does those. Thanks for everybody contributing information. That's awesome to help everybody answer the questions. This is the first time I've ever had this many people on a call, I just have to tell you. So I really appreciate my helpers and everybody for being on there. So I had somebody ask me today if I'd do this again, and 2 people did, and I said absolutely. So if anybody wants to like coordinate and help get the information out and do another class, I can do these whenever we want, for different areas and to help share the information. That would be awesome. I like doing it for some crazy reason. I don't know. You just keep me talking and talking. Gives me a chance to talk, right? So when I go to work right now, I work with special needs. So it's been really fun, right, to get on that. And sometimes it's nice to have adults, but right now you guys aren't talking to me because you're all on mute. You guys could probably, some of you go off mute if you want to. But before you couldn't go off mute because we were recording. You can probably turn that one off actually. Yeah. Okay, that's off. Yeah, we have 2 cameras going and we should have really good audio. Good night. Thank you. You're welcome.
How soon will this be available to rewatch?
Say that. It'll probably be a week or so if I can get it done. It depends on how much work I want to do to it. I'm going to look at both videos, and if it's just fine and the audio's fine in the one that's right here on Zoom, then I will leave it. But I'd really like to splice in those pictures Julie was taking of the close-ups.
Oh,
so it's going to take me a little bit of time to do that, where you can look inside of the pot in those parts. And then we're going to see how good that audio is. Because if that audio is better, I'll also put in that audio.
okay.
So anyway, it's just along with what, like going to work, I have to do it on the other times. So, okay. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you can't see where I can create a login. Just go to scroll down and make sure you click on to purchase the course first. And then I think you'll get an email with your login stuff. Will your specials be available on recording? Which say you will take, I'm going to send out an email with my special information. That special's not going anywhere either. I might not just tell everybody about it, But if you want to share it with people, it's not going anywhere. I'll leave it right there, and it's just its own little piece, and it's that link will always have that special. So.
Cindy, you're terrific.
Oh,
You're terrific.
Thank you. You're so nice. You're awesome. Thank you. How do we make arrangements to do local pickup? So when you go through and order your stuff, it'll give you an option for shipping, and one of the options will be local pickup. So just go through shipping and it should pull it right up. If it doesn't, let me know and we'll figure it out differently. But I have people do it all the time, so I'm sure it'll work. Okay. Did we have anybody else come from far away? We had Guatemala that's left on here. That was crazy far away. Okay. All right. Oh, we did that one already. All right, everybody. Yay. Okay.
Cindy,
Yeah.
I used thermal cooking at girls camp 50 years ago. 50 years ago.
That's awesome.
Used the cooler, blankets, and the Dutch oven.
Very cool. The Dutch oven is something I didn't mention, but I love using the Dutch oven as a thermal cooker. It works really
Absolutely.
well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, Bridget. It's been really fun. I just love doing it for some reason. And you know what? The way this whole class came together in the PowerPoint's a brand new PowerPoint. There's only a couple slides I did on the last one. Well, several, but I rewrote it just to do it this particular way, so people will be able to get the knowledge that's behind the information I've been gathering or compiling, I guess. So anyway, it's fun to see some of the people I recognize the names on there. Okay, yeah, Teresa, when you go to check out and see the shipping info, you can click on local pickup. It will also give you her email and tell you to email her to arrange for pickup. Yep, I'll get those and then I'll be here. I'll get them all ready. And if you want something like if you get a thermal cooker, right, then they're not here obviously, but if you want to pick up the other stuff, if I have it available, if it's in, like some of it's all that pre-order with Jax, but if I have it, then you're sure welcome to come get it before. If I'm shipping it, I need to find out what the difference is in shipping, if I keep them together or separate, and it might not be feasible to send it ahead. I don't know. I have to do a little bit of playing with that. Okay. I know somebody ordered a hope sack, because you can buy hope sacks on there. I make them for you, but that takes a little bit of time for me to get those done and sent out, but not like till May. So there you go. Anyway, it's good. All right. Okay, what are we? Oh, I have somebody that I need to call. Anyway, somebody's gonna come to my house after 9. I said I won't be available till after 9. So you'll never guess I'm the preparedness person in our area. So I'm getting our block captains all worked out finally. So one of them's coming over. So I'm gonna let you guys all go. It's been wonderful. Thank you guys so much. I totally enjoyed it. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Get on my email so that I can, and then keep me posted on how things work. I would love to, thanks, Allison. I would love to get updates from you all. Thanks. Good night, everybody.